The Republican Party has unveiled their new budget proposal, and in it, they declare open war on poor people. Oh boy. Now, specifically taking aim at Medicaid and food stamps. So these are, again, respectively, the healthcare program for low income Americans and the food program for low income Americans. Okay. The budget document tasked the House Energy and Commerce Committee with finding $880 billion in savings over the next 10 years and directs the House Committee on Agriculture to identify another $230 billion in cuts. So it's just over a trillion there, but that's actually only half of what they want to cut. They want to cut $2 trillion. So they decimate Medicaid and food stamps, which would only give them half of what they're asking for. But in return, well, they do want to give $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, which are mainly going to go to the rich. So this is your upward redistribution of wealth. Okay, going from programs that help poor people to tax cuts that don't really help rich people. I mean, yeah, they're going to save more money, and then what are they going to do with it? They're not going to feed people. They're probably not even going to spend it. It's going to sit there. It's going to rot. Okay, that's not good. Now, of course, the way that they did this was a bit sneaky, though. Right? The document doesn't say explicitly we are going to cut $880 billion from Medicaid. No, they're being sly about it. Telling these committees, please find us some savings, and you know exactly where they're going to find it. Okay. Now, the Energy and Commerce Committee oversees Medicaid spending. That's one of their biggest expenses. That is their biggest expense, I believe, and or maybe the second biggest expense. And the Agricultural Panel, of course, is jurisdiction over SNAP program and other nutritional programs. And so, Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program costs about $609 billion. The only other thing in there that costs more is Medicare. So Trump promised not to touch Social Security or Medicare. And so Republicans are like, well, we got to find the money somewhere. And it's going to come out of Medicaid and food stamps. Look, Mike Johnson, who's House Speaker, he has been harping on work requirements for some time, right? For people who not only receive Medicaid, but food stamps. Obviously, there's been a lot of studies on these, imposing work requirements. That doesn't actually work. Okay, it doesn't actually help increase savings or help people get jobs. Okay, a lot of people who are on food stamps and Medicaid actually already work. Okay, that said, the amount that they would like to cut to hit that $2 trillion in cuts would have to go far beyond imposing just work requirements on Medicaid and food stamps. Okay, look, they're going to have to they're going to have to make major, major, major cuts in Medicaid and possibly even Medicare, okay, in order to hit that $2 trillion. So this is an example of class warfare against the poor for the benefit of a very, very few rich people. Now, they say, of course, well, we got to make these spending cuts to offset the cost of the tax cuts, right? But that would, again, only equal about half of what they're looking to add to the deficit when it comes to tax cuts. And look, maybe they're going to argue, well, hey, look, the tax cuts are going to pay for themselves, right? Well, we've been down that road before. They never pay for themselves. Okay. And the benefit cuts, they're going to hurt the economy. Look, for every dollar that's spent on SNAP, there's at least $1.50 in economic activity. Okay. Some figures even go up to $2. All right. So there's that. Helps the economy, helps feed people and keep them alive. Great. Medicaid, that program also literally keeps people alive. But even with these massive cuts, the tax cuts for the rich is still going to add a massive amount to the deficit, about $3 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, of course, Republicans know this, which is why they're seeking to raise the debt ceiling. Because, of course, Do you remember when Republicans were like, you irresponsible, raise the debt ceiling to pay for things, you're just asking the children to go into more debt? Oh my God. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Okay. Where are the deficit hawks then? Well, they're here. They just don't care. Okay. They're like, no, we want more cuts. That's what we want. We want an additional $500 billion in cuts. That's what we want. Really? Well, problem is there's only so much you can cut from social safety net programs, which are basically Swiss cheese as they are. Okay. And so, especially ones that have helped your voters. I mean, there are people that voted for Republicans, people that vote for Donald Trump that are on food stamps, that are on different various, Medicaid, government assistance, not to mention people on Medicare, Social Security, etc. And so if they do this, if they actually go forward with these cuts, which they're going to try through budget reconciliation, then millions of people are going to lose their health care, and you're going to have a lot of people that are going to go hungry. Okay? Look, there's a lot of people that might not be aware that if their state had expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, okay, so the state Medicaid expansion, there are in certain states like Arizona, for example, that have trigger laws. If federal funding goes below a certain point, for that state, it's 80%, okay? The trigger law will kick in and repeal the expansion. And you would have millions of people that instantly lose their health care. Gone. And so these are people who are low income, women, children, the disabled, people over 65. They will absolutely lose their health care. And as an effect, there is a certain percentage of them that will die. They will not be able to afford their Medicare, or I'm sorry, their medication. Okay? They will not be able to afford going to the doctor. They will die. When you are poor and do not have health care, that is your likely result. Now, of course, people that are in favor of these cuts, these Republicans, will say, well, just get a job then. Work requirements. Just get a job. Just get a job. It's just super easy. Right. At a time where the government is firing large swaths of its workforce. That's right. That's happening. You're going to end up with a complete and utter disaster. Unemployment is skyrocketing. People will starve and die and not have health care. So that's what you're setting up. And by the way, thousands of people a year already die from lack of health care. Okay. It's about 65,000 people a year die from lack of health care. And you have to be, a lot of that has to do with the states that did not expand Medicaid and people that fall into that donut hole where they're not poor enough to get Medicaid, but, they also can't afford health insurance or can't afford to use their health insurance. And so you have those people that die in the middle. They can't afford their medication, anything like that. That's already bad enough. Now they're taking that situation. Republicans are going to make it worse. Okay. Things are going to get really, really bad if they force these cuts through. And as I mentioned, they have a plan in doing so. It's budget reconciliation. Okay. That only requires a simple majority vote in the Senate. Republicans have a simple majority. So, yeah. Get ready. Get ready for massive pain, death, and starvation. Also, that Republicans can shower their donors with your money, with our money, to benefit just a few wealthy families. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.